Hi, and welcome to a brand new video. So today we're going to actually be talking about something we haven't talked about yet on this channel, which is actually a competition. It's called National Science Bowl, and I'm just going to be talking about what it is and some tips if you're interested. So National Science Bowl is a competition for middle and high school students where they form teams from 4 to 5 members. Typically, this is competed in schools, and each team researches science topics, and then on the day of the competition, you're asked science questions. You compete against another team to win and get more points. So that's a general overview. So let's break it down a little bit. So there's a middle school and high school division, and high school is obviously harder than middle school. And you have teams from 4 to 5 members. You have to study the topics of math, which is typically depending on which type of high school or like high school or middle school you're doing, it has different levels of math. So middle school would be around algebra 2, and high school would also be around algebra 2, but it can also get up to things like derivatives and integrals. So then we also have energy, which includes studying the DOE Labs. So this would include things like the Fermi Lab and the Pacific Northwest Lab and other types of labs. And then we have some of the core topics that you'd probably expect. We have physics, we have chemistry, we have biology, and we also have earth science. So as you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics that you can study, but you only have 4 to 5 members. Because you have 5 members, but you only are allowed to use 4 in a round. So one is kind of like a backup, or you can exchange members through your rounds. So that's why most of the time, or at least in the teams I've participated in, you have one person specializing in each topic so they can answer those questions really, really fast. And then topics like math and energy, everyone share because math is like a lot of people who do natural science but also do math competitions. But even if that's not the case, math is a pretty universal topic. And energy, researching the DOE labs, there's 16. So that might be a little time consuming for one person, especially because you need to research it only a few days before the competition, where you can begin doing your prep beforehand. But these research labs always publish new research or new news that they found out. And those new, fresh questions are what's used in the competitions. So that's why I also recommend researching those a little bit towards the later end of the competition and focusing on your main subjects beforehand. So even though there are these 6 topics, they are actually called different things in the middle and high school competitions. So in the middle school competitions, we have math, we have energy, and then we actually have physics and chemistry is combined to what we call physical science. Then earth science remains the same. And then biology is called life science. But in high school competitions, these names remain the same. So how does this competition work? I've talked about the different topics that you need to study, but how does it actually work? Well, what you have a set. Typically, you have a 13-minute or 18-minute timer. So it would be 13 in middle school, and 18 in high school. And sometimes it's 15 in middle school. It kind of depends on which area you are in. And then there are two teams. And so these people will have four, and these will have four, and then there's probably like some sort of moderator asking the questions. So inside a team, there's the captain, and then there are the other members. And remember, if you have a fifth member, they'll be sitting out for the round. So, the judges, they have the person asking the question, they have the scorekeeper. So we'd have the question, scorekeeper, and then we also have a questions judge. And that basically means if you think that the answer is the answer that the question says is wrong, you think there's a different answer, you think your answer is right, then you can ask the questions judge. So how are the questions structured? So you actually have two types of questions. You have toss-up questions, and typically you have 5 seconds for these. So that's why lots of team members don't have a lot of time to communicate with these questions. And you can also interrupt in the middle of the question. So it's 5 seconds after the entire question's read, and they only read the question once. So you have to pay attention. And you can write things down if you have a paper next to you. So in the toss-up, you have 5 seconds, and then you also have a bonus, which is 20 seconds. So that's where teams can communicate, and only the captain can answer this. So you can communicate with the captain what you think the answer is, but only they can answer it. So the toss-up gets you 4 points, while the bonuses get you 10 points. So it looks like there's a lot of advantages to the bonus questions. How do you earn that? Well, you have to get the toss-up right in order to earn the bonus for your team. So if you get the toss-up right, then you have the chance to do the bonus. Otherwise, you don't get to do the bonus. And I did say that there's two teams competing against each other at once. So they will both try to answer the toss-up question. So team 1 and team 2 will try to answer the toss-up question, while the bonus question is only available for the person who gets it right. So let's say team 1 gets it right. So that's why if you're, let's say, losing, you want to get a lot more bonuses, a lot more toss-ups, so you can raise your score. So inside these toss-ups and bonuses, the actual questions themselves also have two different types. So we have short answer questions, and short answers, probably as you can expect, they ask, let's say, what is the name of the planet we're on? And that would obviously be Earth, at least the time I'm filming this. So the short answer is basically like a short response, and multiple choice is probably, as you can also expect, they say, what is the color of a typical plant? And then there will be different choices, like W is red, and X is purple, Y is green, and Z is, let's say, red. Or I already used red, so orange. So you can interrupt during the choices, but obviously if you get it wrong, then you get point deductions. So, but a lot of teams do use interrupts in order to gain points, especially if they're behind. So, that's something to note with multiple choice questions. I also want to bring another point up with multiple choice questions. In a multiple choice question, whoops, my bad. Multiple choice. We have option W, option X, option Y, and option Z. So and then we have these answers. So let's say one of these choices was, let's say, mountain. So you say mountains. So let's say you say mountain. Then you're going to get it wrong because in multiple choice, it needs to be the exact wording as in the choice. So it's mountain. Even if it was one letter off, you would get it wrong. So the reason, the way you don't get it wrong is you say these choices here instead. So you say a choice W or answer X or Y or Z. So that's just something to note with multiple choice questions. So during the competition, I kind of just want to review this portion. You will first start off with the toss-up question, which is available to everyone, and it would be 5 seconds for 4 points. Then, if you get it right, then you answer the bonus question, which the captain has to answer, and it's only for the team which got it, which is 20 seconds after the question is read and 10 points. And they will ask the different topics that I talked about earlier. So what are some tips? So first, let's talk about in-competition tips. If you're actually competing, there are probably two scenarios. You're either the winning team or currently in the round, or you're the losing team currently in the round. So because you only have you have a timer, right? So it doesn't matter how many questions are read, it matters that you get to the end of the timer. And normally they have like a lot of questions, but if you do finish them, then the round's over early. So in the winning team, you are already ahead and you want to keep it that way. So there's not really any point to interrupt unless you're really, really close winning. But if you're like a bonus and a toss up, so a full question ahead of the other team, you don't there's no really need to interrupt because you just risk losing points. So no need interrupt. And you can also take things slow. So let's say in a bonus question, they let's say, what process do cells use to make ATP? Then the answer would be cellular respiration. So you could say, let's say you knew that like right when the question was asked, but you're ahead. You want to waste time for the other team, right? Because if the other team, the more time you give them, the more time they have to catch up. So typically, you would say it when, like towards the end of the bonus question, so maybe when there's 5 seconds left. So wait, and that's not how you spell wait. So something that I forgot to bring up earlier is that in toss-up questions you get no like time reminders. So you just have 5 seconds after the toss-up and then they say time's up. But for the bonus question, they give you a reminder when there's 5 seconds left. So that's typically a good point to give your answer if you're the winning team. But for the losing team, it's actually the complete opposite. You want to try to interrupt because you need the time to get ahead. So because you need to get ahead. And you don't want to wait. Once you know the answer, you want to answer quick. So you need to be quick on your feet. Obviously, don't rush it for the sake of getting ahead because you don't want to say the wrong answer and lose your opportunity. But you want to be quick as much as possible. So, just something that you can't just come to this competition without some preparations. As you can see, it's pretty like tight notch. So, something that you want to do is prep for these questions and study beforehand. So, what are some tips to do that? So, first, just some tips is that you want to meet frequently with your team. So sometimes I would recommend like 2 to 3 times a week for roughly an hour. Then inside these meetings, you can obviously do different types of things. So you can either like study together. If you have questions, ask those questions. And sometimes you could use them to like quiz each other to see like how well you're doing on a specific topic. So if you just read like uh, one chapter of a book, you can quiz them on a book those that chapter of the book. So you can do like individual quizzing, I guess. Quizzing plus studying. You can also do like individual rooms. So if there's, let's say, two people studying physics and chemistry, because in middle school that's called physical science, both of those people can go to a breakout room and just practice physical science questions. So you can do like topic quizzing, and that's not how you spell quizzing. Or you could do the entire team quizzing and just practice doing you can just practice your strategies and trying to answer the questions and work with that timer. So questions, timer, etc. And something I really recommend is also getting advice from other teams who have been successful. And also do some mock science bowl. So get like another team, maybe like a high school and a middle school, so that's not competition. And try practicing questions with each other. And that will really help both teams really finalize on their strategies, see what are their flaws, what do they need to improve on, what types of questions they need to study for, how other teams work, because not all teams will have the same strategy, and it might not be what you expect. Related to studying, I recommend that you try to study either 1 to 2 hours per day. And obviously, this will be different for different people, but it is really helpful to continue learning because the questions get pretty hard when you get to those harder questions in the final competition, which is called National Science Bowl. So there are many things you can do when you're studying. You can read books, and the National Science Bowl website has a list of recommended books for different students. So as you can see here, those are the recommended books. These are for middle school, but you can see that you can start with the introductory, but advanced is also recommended. Campbell is really good for life science. Both of these are really important for physical science. Math is probably what you'll learn in school, so there's not really any specific books for that. For Earth and Space, actually, both of these are super useful, Seasoned Tarbuck. And for Earth Science, just remember researching those Department of Energy or DOE websites. So back to the topic that we were discussing about. So you can read books, and this will just help you improve your knowledge. And so then you can also do videos. I know that lots of people are more video learners or find images. And don't forget to take notes of things that you find difficult or things that you know you won't remember because you can go back to those later and then you'll be able to remember them. So, other things that you can do is practice studying on your own, like practice these questions on your own. So, you can study your topic and you can ask, like a parent or a guardian to quiz you, or you can study online. There's many online tools. So, one that I find very useful is a website called Protable. And Protable is basically like a science bowl like buzzing, where you can practice buzzing. It has different reader speeds. You can try answering questions. So Protoball is a super useful resource if you want to try buzzing and practicing Science Bowl online. So those are some those are kind of like basic tips that you're probably going to hear from a lot of people. There is something that my team also used, and let me talk about that. So we used things like spreadsheets to keep everyone accountable and organized. So these spreadsheets allowed everyone to write down maybe important things that they've learned, also write down what they've been studying. So every day you'd log, let's say I learned I read this chapter and I learned this one basic fact. And you can just everyone can log what they do, and that just keeps everyone accountable. Because if you see someone's doing like 10 chapters a day, that's definitely unreasonable. But then and you're only doing one chapter a day, you're like, hey, I also want to feel like like more accomplished, so I want to do 10 chapters too. So then you would be more motivated to do more studying. And also, it's a way to share knowledge and encourage everyone to keep studying. And you can also write down important resources you find and all that good stuff in those spreadsheets. And you can also do those individual quizzings like I talked about earlier. And you can also have like a coach or a parent quiz one individual person. And these quizzings is super helpful. So don't for like team, individual, they're both helpful because it helps grow confidence in an individual. So don't forget to do quizzing as well. So that's it for my summary on National Science Bowl and some tips for you. If you have any questions or any more comments or tips that you want, don't forget to comment down in the below in the description in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So see you in the next video. Bye.